It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the middle of September 2005, September 16th to be exact. We have a ton of movies to get to here, so I usually would go into my description of all the movies we have to cover here, but I think we've got like 8 or 9 movies to look at. I don't even think that's the right number, but we have a ton of movies to look at. I'm already wasting your time with this intro, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We got some good ones in here, though. Let's start off with the first one here, the biggest new release of the weekend, which is Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo in the romantic comedy Just Like Heaven.
Scariest I've ever been around.
How is it that I can see her and no one else can?
You're totally asking the wrong question.
So you're gonna help me find out who I am?
I'm sensing some pretty intense feelings she has for you, bro.
Think if you could ever really touch me, I might wake up from all this.
Reese Witherspoon, Mark Ruffalo, and John Heder. Righteous, just like heaven. Rated PG-13. Starts September 16th.
Starring John Heder as Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, after Napoleon Dynamite was the big breakout hit the year before, anytime John Heder was in a movie, he had to play a role that was like Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, there was a couple of movies like that. Some of them actually did work. Others, you can clearly tell they were trying to make him the Napoleon Dynamite in every single movie he was in. But in this film, you have Reese Witherspoon as a dedicated doctor in San Francisco who has no time for anything when she gets into a tragic car crash and goes into a coma. A landscape architect, played by Mark Ruffalo, moves into her apartment to rent, and that's where he meets her amnesic, ethereal form. Good Lord. So, yeah, like, the trailer makes you think, like, oh, it's a ghost movie, you know, she's dead and she's never coming back. But no, you find out she's in a coma, so it's kind of like Ghost Dad in a way, where it's not really he's not really a ghost in general, but he's just in a coma. But except in that movie, it's really effing stupid what they do there. But here, it's really well done. It's actually, I would honestly say, it's one of this director's most underrated movies. This is the director that gave us Mean Girls and Freaky Friday. No one ever really talks about this movie in general, but the movie itself is really good, and I like it because of the chemistry between Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo. I think it's a very funny comedy, a very fun concept in general, where you have Reese Witherspoon, you know, haunting this guy not for any particular reason, because she wants to know what she was in life, and you know, finding out that she's not really dead, she's just in a coma somewhere. Like, it's a really good movie. It's a really engaging film. It's a very well done film in general. And a lot of the performances in here do work very well. I like the performances by Witherspoon and Ruffalo. Donald Logue's also in here. And even John Heder, when he's trying to be Napoleon Dynamite, it's a fun little role for him to be in. Like, he has a nice little supporting role here, where it's not really much of a big deal in general in terms of, like, terms of the storyline, but it works very well. And I think the characters overall are well done. I think there is a lot of a good heart to this film in general, and I think it is a really solid and really entertaining movie. One that I think definitely does not get the proper attention it deserves. It's a very weird movie too. Like, there's a part where in the beginning, when Mark Ruffalo starts to realize that something is wrong in his house, like something's haunting him, he calls all these different people, and he actually calls the Ghostbusters. I'm not even kidding. There's literally a scene where it's in a montage, and then they cut to these guys coming in here, and you hear like the Ghostbusters music playing in the background. I wish I was kidding, but I swear to God, this is the honest truth.
Dad, we got it.
All set, sir. We have the spirit.
Ooh, a better dish.
You sure? Oh, definitely. I have him right here.
You thought I was kidding, didn't you? No, that was literally the Ghostbusters music in the background, and like, they're not even wearing the same suits as the Ghostbusters are. They're not even using the same things that the Ghostbusters use. But then again, you know, like, obviously they can't do that because Ghostbusters is Sony. This is Dreamworks, of course. Which is weird because this is the second time in the last 5 years that Dreamworks has tried to do something Ghostbusters related. Because they did the Evolution a few years prior to that, and it was just like I don't know what the deal was. Like, in that movie it made sense, but here, like, it makes no sense whatsoever why they threw a Ghostbusters reference in there. But it's just weird, but then again, it's kind of the charm of the movie. It's very odd. It's a movie that works pretty well on so many other levels. It's a film that I think is very well done. it's one I definitely recommend checking out. If you like Freaky Friday and Mean Girls, you definitely get a lot of this movie to really appreciate from. So, I do recommend this movie a lot. I think it's a very underrated little gem. Definitely worth the watch. And speaking of underrated gems that came out this weekend, here's one of Nicolas Cage's two underrated gems from the fall of 2005, Lord of War.
People magazine calls Lord of War stylish and sharp. It's one of the year's most important films. Damn, you are good. Keep it in Lorber, give it 2 big thumbs up. Where there's a will, there's a weapon. Lord of War, based on actual events. Rated R, now playing.
Such an amazing movie. Nicolas Cage stars as he's a man named Yuri Orlov, who's the eldest son of the family of a Ukrainian refugee. He enters the illegal arms trade shortly before the dissolution of the Soviet Union, eventually becoming a well-known and unscrupulous gun runner. And this is directed by Andrew Niccol, who gave us Gattaca, and was most notably known for writing the script for The Truman Show. We also have a cast that includes Bridget Moynihan, Ian Holm, Jared Leto, Ethan Hawke. One of 2 criminally underrated Nicolas Cage movies that came out in 2005. Not the best of the 2, though. We'll get to that one as we get to the end of October. But this is a really, really good movie. A really intense film. A really well-made film in general. A lot of good writing material from Niccol, who has been in a lot of great movies in the past. Nicolas Cage giving this really great tour de force performance, who really just gives it his all in here. The visual look of the film is incredible. The action sequences are nicely done. The dramatic aspects work so well. It's a really good, well-made film that does not get the proper attention that I think it deserves. It was a critically praised movie when it came out, but kind of went under the radar when it is in the years since its release, but has so much gained a cult following over the years. It's actually gotten a 4K release on Blu-ray as of late. But it's a really damn good movie, and one that I highly recommend checking out. If you want to see one of Nicolas Cage's best performances, Lord of War is definitely the film to do it with. So, not much more to say, but Lord of War is pretty awesome. Can't say the same thing about our next movie. This is Cry Wolf. By God, the scariest thing about this whole movie, chat rooms. Remember the chat rooms back in the day? Like that's scarier than the actual killer in this movie. I mean, that whole trailer is just a scary reflection of what what computers used to be like back in the day. But oh, how times have changed in the nearly 20 years since then. 25 years, good lord. But this is Cry Wolf. It follows a group of teenagers at a remote elite boarding school who play a group parlor game called Cry Wolf. By spreading rumors of a serial killer nicknamed the Wolf, this leads to the discovery of a young woman's body on campus, putting the lives of those who played the game in legitimate danger. Spoiler alert, one of the people who created this is the killer. Like, everyone acts like, oh, who's this killer? Like, who's taking this too far? It's one of them, and they know it's one of them, but then again, this is the genius work of the infamous Jeff Wadlow. You know, that guy that gave us Truth or Dare and Imaginary? Same director. And those movies weren't great either. This one definitely isn't great either. But this is about as generic of a slasher film as you can get. There's no thrill factor. There's no chilling scenes whatsoever. The twist is about as generic as you can get, and you know exactly who the hell it's going to be right from the get-go. There is no denying who this person is that's the killer, and they try to make you think like, oh, it's not this person, it's not this person, and you have to be really stupid if you can't figure out who the person is right from the get-go, and this is just a lazy, lazy film. But a cheaply made film because it made its money back and then some. And I think there was actually a direct-to-video sequel made to this because why not? I mean, it only cost $1 million to make, so of course it's going to make its budget back, especially released by Universal, World Pictures sub-studio they had for the longest time. But doesn't make the movie great. Not at all, so. Not much more to say about this one. This one sucks. Cry Wolf, and same can be said for the next movie, too. This is Venom.
When a life is lost,
I should have done something.
there is a place
It's an old Creole burial ground.
where they can be brought back. But on September 16th,
What was that?
some people are better left dead. Venom.
Eric? Eric?
Rated R. In theaters Friday, September 16th.
One of the most notable things about this movie are the fact that, one, this was the last film released by Dimension Films before Miramax and Warner and Walt Disney split up. That would be one thing, but sadly, this movie was released several days after Hurricane Katrina hit. You know, Hurricane Katrina devastated much of southeast Louisiana. This takes place in southeast Louisiana, so yeah, the film is unfortunately topical and not in a good way. It follows a group of teens who fight to survive a man-turned-zombie after he becomes possessed by evil spirits. And no, this has nothing to do with Marvel's character Venom, because he would have his own series of movies that would be completely destroying of his character in general. Okay, maybe not his character in general, but those movies really were not that great in general. But here, this is a pretty bad movie. This is directed by Jim Gillespie, who has made, his most notable film he directed was I Know What You Did Last Summer. And the person who wrote this movie, one of the people that wrote this movie, was Flint Dille. You may not know that name in general, but you may know the stuff he's worked on. This guy worked on the Transformers TV series from the 1980s, G.I. Joe. He wrote An American Tale, 5 Goes West. The writer of 5 Goes West wrote this movie. And, yeah, not a good film whatsoever. Pretty lazy when you think about it, and you can see why this was dumped in theaters, and this is a film that was clearly meant to be, you know, the return for the people that made I Know What You Did Last Summer, but, yeah, it just didn't work in general, and coming out after just mere days after Hurricane Katrina hit, yeah, chances are this film was never going to make its profitability back whatsoever, and it did not, because it only brought in $881,000 at the box office. And probably spent much more than that, but so yeah, not a very good movie whatsoever. But let's get back to some good movies. How about that? How about the limited release of Tim Burton's latest stop-motion animated feature, and that is, of course, Corpse Bride.
What if Victor and I don't like each other?
As if that has anything to do with marriage.
They were due to be married, though they'd never before met. His parents were thrilled. Hers were filled with regret. But in a moment of panic, Victor desperately fled, and by a grave misunderstanding, married the corpse bride instead.
You may kiss the bride.
She was frightening, but beautiful, and would never be false.
Who is she? I'm his wife.
All that she lacked was the beat of a pulse.
Maggots.
From Tim Burton, creator of The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Why go up there when people are dying to get down here?
comes a tale of wit, charm, and strife.
I'm not dead.
About a timid young man
Victoria!
and the love of his life.
Sounds creepy.
Can a heart still break once it's stopped beating? A tragic tale of romance, passion,
I feel the same.
And a murder most foul.
He's married to a corpse. What a cutie.
You should have seen him with fur.
Tim Burton's Corpse Bride.
This is gonna be good.
I agree. This was a good movie. definitely a very good movie from Tim Burton, and not Henry Selick, who is often credited as one of the people who made The Nightmare Before Christmas, even though I think this was even though this is his company that made this, Leica Entertainment, if I'm not mistaken. Was this? Maybe he wasn't involved with this, but of course Henry Selick would be more known with his studio afterwards with his movies like Coraline. But yeah, I thought he was involved. I thought he was one of the main people behind the company that put behind Leica Entertainment. But no, it's Phil Knight and Travis Knight. But anyway, the movie is about Johnny Depp plays this man who's about to get married, as you see in the trailer there, to this woman, and he's very nervous because he doesn't know if he's going to like this woman, and this woman doesn't know if he's going to like him, because they're two separate people who have never met before, and now they're being arranged to be married. And so when he's trying to get the courage to get over his fears, like, he puts a ring inside what he thinks is a tree, but is a branch, and it turns out to be this woman, a corpse bride, voiced by Helena Bonham Carter, and because of that, they're married, and it leads to a lot of conflictions between, can this dead woman and this man live together in harmony, and it just leads to a lot of insanity going forward. Maybe not as crazy as some of the stuff in, like, The Night Before Christmas, but notable stuff in general, and like I said, it's a really good movie. It's a well-made film that has a lot of the elements that make The Nightmare Before Christmas work as well as it does, but not quite as good as Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, the songs in here aren't as memorable as Nightmare Before Christmas. The characters in here aren't quite as memorable. There's a couple of notable ones, mainly the main three characters that you do get behind. Johnny Depp's character of Victor, the corpse bride, and also Emily Watson's character, who's the woman that he's supposed to marry in the real world. You get behind these characters, and you do like the storyline that goes on here. It's a very interesting love triangle, because you can believe that Johnny Depp would have a chemistry between not only the wife he's supposed to marry in the real world, but the one that he accidentally marries in the afterlife. And it's a very nice balance. It's a very nice balance of trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, and it's very, very weird it's very weird and very odd on how they put this together, and it just works really well. I think it's a very good storyline that works very well, because you do like all three of these characters, and you understand where everybody's coming from, and you understand Victor's situation because he has no idea how to handle this, like, what's the right thing to do, and, like, it's very, very hard to see what decision he has to make in the end. There also is kind of a baddie in here, maybe kind of more obnoxious and even less threatening than somebody like Oogie Boogie was, who was kind of a pointless villain in Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, here, he's just the snug guy who's only trying to marry Emily Watson's character for money, which technically also just happened recently in Beetlejuice. But, yeah. But in here, yeah, it definitely feels forced in general, and the only thing that makes that character worth it is the way how he gets knocked off in the end. We find out that he left Emily for dead, like, he left her to die, and, like, there's this whole thing where he's drinking. There's this liquid they're about to drink. Johnny Depp's about to drink so that he would turn into a dead person, and the corpse bride says, this isn't right, and then the bad guy comes in, they have this fight, and then he drinks it not knowing that it's going to turn him dead, and as he's about to leave, and because there's this law that says, like, we can't hurt the living, and we can't hurt the living anymore, he dies, and they're just like, okay, now we can go ahead and mess this guy up, and it's a fun, dark little climax ending that happens with him in general, and it's a very good film, a very flawed film, but I like it because of the animation. I like it because of the chemistry between the three main characters. I think they're all well done in general. It's a very good movie. It's really kind of an underrated movie, because I don't think it gets really the proper respect it deserves, especially considering the pedigree it has to live up to, something like The Nightmare Before Christmas, and even stuff like James and the Giant Peach, and Frankenweenie, which I think Frankenweenie is probably my second favorite of the Tim Burton stop-motion movies in general. But this is a really good film, and one that I do watch it occasionally every Halloween. It's one that, whenever it's on, I gotta watch it, because it is a film that I do really like a lot, and it's a really good movie. It's one I do recommend checking out. If you like Nightmare Before Christmas, you'll definitely like Corpse Bride a lot. I am glad to see that it is getting a little bit of a following nowadays, because now this year at Spirit Halloween, there was actually a Corpse Bride set to Halloween decoration that you can have outside, and I would probably buy it if it wasn't uber expensive, which probably it is. I can't remember how much it was in general, but I covered it when I last went to Spirit Halloween recently. And if you want to go check that out, I'll leave a link to the video and that in the corner so you can go check that out. But it'd be cool to have out there, and it does show that there is an audience building for Corpse Bride in general, and rightfully so. It's actually a pretty good movie, and one you should definitely check out this Halloween. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to some indie titles here, some lesser films. We got 4 here to look at, and let's start with the first one we have here. Peter Falk and Paul Reiser in The Thing About My Folks.
Ready for this? Mom left Dad.
Welcome to the club. Day in a month in a row.
When you're married 40 years, come off, please.
Now, one son's love is the only thing that can get them back on track.
Oh, yeah, why did you get a fish?
Paul Reiser, Peter Falk, and Academy Award winner Olympia Dukakis in a film Gene Shalit calls marvelous, funny, and true to the heart.
That's what I sounded.
The Thing About My Folks.
Why does that trailer make it seem like this is some whimsical fantasy? Like this is a movie that is fun for the whole family. Bring the kids. Yeah, when I think of fun for the whole family, I think of a movie about a guy whose marriage is on the rocks and basically has a terminal illness to him. And this is literally what the movie is. This is Paul Reiser, of course, from Mad About You, who wrote the script for this, and it focuses on the effects of a terminal illness has on a marriage of an aging couple and their adult children. The married couple being Peter Falk and Olympia Dukakis. You have Elizabeth Perkins in here as well. A film that I don't remember too much of in general, but I like Paul Reiser. I like his work on Mad About You. He's had a couple of other attempts to try to come back after Mad About You that weren't as successful, but this is a film that I remember vaguely. From what I remember from it, I thought it was okay for what it was. I think the performances did carry it a little bit more than the rest of the movie did. But then again, this is a film I have not seen in a long time. I've had no real reason to go back and see it again. But from what I remember from it, I don't think it was a bad movie in general. But yeah, like I said, it's been too long since I remember seeing this film. So if you like Paul Reiser's work, maybe it's worth it for a one-time watch. I might want to watch it again at some point. But yeah, I've never really had the urge to go back and watch it after one time though. So with that said, let's move on to the next one we have here. The first official Weinstein Company release, since we mentioned the Miramax Disney divorce earlier in the show. Here is Proof.
Folks are down wondering if they're nuts.
Shut up.
You've got better things to do. The critics are raving about Proof. Ebert and Lorber give it 2 thumbs way up. Pitch perfect. Extraordinary.
How long did you know about this?
It's mesmerizing. A richly layered and magnificent work. It simply must be seen. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Anthony Hopkins.
You read a lot of math.
I read college math. That's just window dressing.
Mysterious person.
Proof. From director John Madden. Rated PG-13. Now.
Proof stars Gwyneth Paltrow as a woman in her late 20s who is strongly devoted to her father, played by Anthony Hopkins, a brilliant and well-known mathematician whose grip on reality is beginning to slip away. As Robert's descent into madness, Catherine begins to wonder if she may have inherited his father's mental illness along with his mathematical genius. When Robert's work reveals a mathematical proof of potentially historic proportions, it sends off shockwaves in more ways than one. Jake Gyllenhaal also stars in the movie as kind of, I think, a love interest in the film. It's been way too long since I've seen this movie. Kind of like with the last film I remember. I don't remember too much about the movie in general. I just remember that it's directed by the same guy that did Shakespeare in Love. But, yeah, I don't remember too much about it. I don't remember hating it either. I just don't remember wanting to see it after one other showing of it. I only saw it once. Never really got the urge to really see it again. But it's got a good cast overall. Paltrow, Hopkins, Gyllenhaal, Hope Davis. Written by David Auburn, who's a very known writer based off of his book. This is based off of his play. But, yeah, other than that, though, I don't really have much to say about this one. This is one that just kind of came and went for me. I remember seeing it back in the day. I've never seen it since then, so I don't know if it holds up or not. But from what I remember from it, I didn't think it was that bad. But one that I just never wanted to go back and watch again. So, not much more to say about that one. So, moving on to the next movie, Thumbsucker.
Aren't you just my orthodontist?
I like to think of myself as more than that. It's heavy, right?
Yeah. Huh?
Knock him down!
I've been watching you your whole life.
This is a film centering around a teenager in suburban Oregon as he copes with his thumb-sucking problem, romance, and his diagnoses with ADHD and subsequent experience using Ritalin. You have Lou Taylor Pucci as Justin Cobb. You also have Tilda Swinton, Vincent D'Onofrio, Kelly Garner, Benjamin Bratt, Vince Vaughn, and Keanu Reeves. That's really all I remember about this movie in general. I've never seen it before. I just remember it was a notable movie that came out around that time. Haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. Let me see how the reviews are for this. Okay, good reviews in general. Nothing that really screams out a movie that's a mixed bag film. Most people seem to enjoy it, but it definitely feels like one of those coming-of-age, quirky, independent movies. One that I probably would like, but I've never seen it, so I can't really say too much more about this one. So let's move on to the last film we have here. It's Liev Schreiber making his directorial debut with Everything Is Illuminated. What a bizarre-looking movie. The story of this is that you have Elijah Wood as a young Jewish-American man who, with the help of an eccentric local, endeavors to find the woman who saved his grandfather during World War II in a Ukrainian village that was ultimately razed by Nazis. Yeah, so this is a film that could probably be well dated for not even well-timed for today's world that we live in right now, but as far as the movie goes, I've never seen it before. I just never even knew what the concept of it was, but I just remember that image of Elijah Wood with his eyes closed and that weird, trippy poster that has all the flowers around it. But other than that, though, I've never seen this film, and quite frankly, it's one I feel like I kind of have to see because of how just insane the whole concept is, and it's supposedly based off of a novel of the same name, but yeah, as far as the movie goes, I've never seen it before, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. But the trailer definitely showed off the weirdness that this could possibly have. So yeah, one I haven't seen before, but kind of makes me want to see it. So maybe at some point I'll definitely check it out. But Everything Is Illuminated. Definitely not the movie I was thinking of when I remembered this movie. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll have 5 more movies to look at, including Jodie Foster in the airplane thriller Flight Plan. We also have another criminally underrated movie from around this time, Roll Bounce. We also have David Cronenberg's A History of Violence, Jenny McCarthy in one of the most notorious comedies ever made, Dirty Love, and also Johnny Knoxville in a comedy that came out in very limited release this particular weekend, Daltrey Calhoun. So we'll take a look at those 5 movies all on the next episode. That'll be tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button if you want to get updates on when we post new videos, because we post here every single day. So, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.